So, Maryam, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, where should I begin? That's a funny question, actually, because every time anyone asks me what I do, I'm a bit like, I always pause, so because I don't know where to begin in terms of, like, I'm a painter, but then I do performance and I like to do this, so there's like few things that, depending on that moment what I'm doing, I don't know how to introduce myself. But yes, I'm mostly known as a painter, and I think that's what I like to stick with. And I also like to perform, and I like to explore a lot. So probably a seeker. I am a seeker. That probably is better way of introducing myself.
Okay.
My art is my best friend. I had it with me since I was very young. So since I remember, I can remember. I've been drawing. I grew up with my grandparents. I had a lot of time that I had to kind of occupy, and at that time where I grew up, well, the TV was limited and there was no video, no internet, none of these distractions and entertainments that you have these days. It was quite limited, and I grew up in Iran during the war, so I had to basically use my imagination a lot. So drawing has always been with me. Every time I got bored or had to find something to do, which was a lot of times. So it really helped me out. And I was pretty much the lonely child, the lonely child. And my grandfather was my best playmate. So the times that he wasn't playing and telling me stories, I was drawing. So I was doing that a lot. So it's very close. It's a very close tool. It's a very familiar thing to do for me, and I always had it with me. So if I'm painting something specific that I have in mind, I try to keep it within those lines. So I have the image in my head. I know what I'm doing. I kind of have a clear idea of how I want it to turn out. So the beginning is quite structured and quite rigid compared to other ways I paint. But what I'm doing, once I got the image out of the way, it's more like being on a trance in a way. So because I can switch off of what I'm actually physically doing and completely be somewhere else. I listen to a lot of interviews and I half watch films, so a little bit up and glancing at the screen, having my own on the surface. But when I do kind of a really free-form art, I'm completely entranced and I'm really exploring the work and I'm really going on this journey. And I'm really enthusiastic on what's happening. So again, I could be in my own little world and back on the surface. So there is a feedback of the sometimes the work is taking me on a journey or giving me visions or telling a story that I'm really. So it's like a two-way relationship, which is really exciting.
Thank you very much. And your art feels very magical, very, very unusual art.
Thank you.
Do you ever feel that you're getting information from somewhere else, some other sources?
Definitely, always. Even when I have a very clear idea and clear image for a specific reason, either it's a commission or it's just something I've decided to do, I always notice that there is this other influence. It seems otherworldly. I don't know where it comes from the subconscious, and wherever that subconscious is linking. I'm a bit confused about all of it sometimes. I do see the other influences. I do feel that there is definitely something coming through the surface, and I could say that's when I let go, when I do a really free drawing, which I just let it happen. That's definitely stronger. But when I have a very solid work, I still see it coming through. So there's definitely this influence, this energy, this entity, spirit, I don't know what to call it. And I've noticed many artists have this connection with their art.
That's true.
So it's very special, very special.
And your paintings, they have energy or vibration about them.
I believe they do have energy and vibration. And I've noticed that I wasn't aware of it. This is something that I'm learning more as I grow older. I could see that when I look back at my works that I've done 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I can see that there is the energy and there is the tension. For example, if I was at the certain part of my life which was quite intense, I can still feel that tension. So it's a very present energy, and I've noticed that other people's work, the other artists, you know, you do definitely feel. I think artworks definitely have an energy coming out, and I think everything absorbs energy anyway, especially when it's done by hand. You definitely have energy input. So I believe, yes, my work definitely has an energy. But recently I'm working on consciously putting energy in there rather than just let it just happen and let it just absorb any energy that is happening in that is in me in that moment. I'm aiming to put a specific energy, which is a positive energy with positive input in there consciously. Like I remember last time, the last works I sent about work that I sold about a couple of weeks ago, I consciously put a lot of energy in there, just sending a lot of love energy, just having my hand on it and just filling it up with energy. I felt really good. It felt really good. I had a connection. I didn't know the buyer, and we only had email communication, and we were very connected with this lady, and I think it was a very special connection, and it felt really good. And I had the feeling that, you know, the energy I'm putting in there can actually transfer and can help her in whatever stage that she is in her life. So I'm becoming more responsible in my art.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
This is a work in progress. I say many more works are, you know, because I keep adding to them during a period of time. If they're around me, I just once in a while I think, I'll just add another character. Used to be a taboo idea that once you finish something, that's it. But now I think, no, it can be ongoing. You know, you can add and take out. So it's like a voodoo kind of painting. So in this one, that's Ian, that's me. And when I painted this, I was wearing a black. I gave myself a black dress because, which was inspired by the performance I did on the boat. Which I was wearing a dress out of plastic, like bill liner. So it was supposed to be that. But I was wearing black and I wasn't smiling much. And I had a dead bird in my hand. And the dead bird is my friend, by the way. I will introduce you to him later. But it's so yeah, it wasn't after a while I thought I need to change that, especially the color of my dress. So I changed it into orange. Which is a healing color, I think, now for my chakras, you know, for my lower chakras. And I gave this bit, I covered this part with money. And today I started adding a bit more detail because this money is not very clear as money. It's gold, so I'm just covering it a bit more. You know, adding more details. I added the spark between her hands.
That's
so
a beautiful
this is just like I added the more energy to it. You know, I just felt like I tweaked the image to a point that I think, and it's ongoing. So I had the devil in the background. I thought I think I may need to take that devil out because it seemed to be a bit naughty. So I painted over her.
What about that spirit?
This is my grandfather.
This
is my grandfather, and he's cool. He's cool. He's super cool, and he's watching over us. I think colors are definitely, a lot of the energy comes from the colors. So they have vibration and they have energy, obviously. And recently I've been more focused. I was listening to this interview while I was working, and this lady was talking about healing with colors, and which I was always aware. I'm aware of the chakra system, and you know how each color would connect and would affect different chakras. But like listening to her, it was actually more something clicked even stronger recently. So again, this is something that I've been using it subconsciously, not consciously using colors. Again, depends on my mood, and I feel if I need to obviously use a certain color to balance myself, I'm using it without thinking. So there might be times that I think that I remember there was a time that I thought I was using a lot of colors, but I was in a very bad state of mind that I didn't realize I actually was not using many colors. And compared to my previous exhibition, that exhibition that I had, a few people came to me and said, like, what happened to you? And I'm thinking, what do you mean? It's like, well, where did all your colors go? And I'm thinking, what do you mean there's more color? But when I compare now, I notice what people say, because suddenly, because I changed medium at that point as well. And it really is apparent. Your mood is you can really show it with colors. So they reflect the energy of how you feel, obviously, with the way I use colors. But I would say nowadays, because I'm a lot lighter and I'm focused more on the healing side. I'm constantly healing myself. So the colors would have that effect on the viewer. There was a time that everybody looked at my work and they were terrified. There were some people that loved it. Of course, it would resonate with those people, but the people that did not resonate, they were just terrified and they didn't want to look at my work. A lot of my teachers were completely terrified of my work. They kept saying, your work is really scary, and they meant it. But I haven't heard that for a long while, so I think that's good. I'm in a good place.
So for a person who is starting to paint, let's say, who is just beginning, would you have any advice for a person?
Yes, many. Probably, personally, I think they don't need to start from scratch, traditional way. They can do it differently. There are many traditional schools that they will teach you how to draw, and they're very good. But it takes a long time to actually gain that skill, and it can be off-putting for somebody that wants to start and they think, oh, I have to spend all this time and draw and they're going to be good enough. So depends what type of art they want to do, what type of drawing skill they want to have. Because if you go with wanting to make everything realistic, that's obviously more challenging. It takes a lot longer to have that skill. But if you explore other ways of drawing and other styles, you realize that you can draw. It's just a matter of combining it with a knowledge of composition and lines and colors and how to make a balanced image. That's the most important thing. Generally, I do this workshop every time I want to do any kind of art class. I teach them technique I use. I enjoy finding images in lines and in patterns. So when I'm doing canvases or using acrylic, I generally use it on the canvas. I just create lots of random lines, and I find the images in the lines, depending on whether I want to let go or I have a very specific idea. So it's easier if you're not really bothered about what you want to do. So you just want to do an image, combination of images. So you just go with the lines, and whatever the lines are inspiring you, you just go with it. With the patterns, it's easier because you can find images within the patterns, and all you need to do is outlining them. And there you have an image, because many people think that if you want to draw a face, you need to sit and draw. But you know, we can all of us can find faces on patterns, in the clouds and on the stains. We can see the faces, and pretty much everybody, if they look enough, they find that finding images is easy. So my advice is just outline those images. You don't need to know how to draw, just you need to see. If you learn how to see, then drawing is easy.
Thank you very much. That's great advice. And in your personal experience in your life, have you always felt you have to be an artist? It is your calling?
I kind of felt like that was obviously what I was supposed to do, or it seemed like, well, obviously this is what I'm doing, because that was always with me. Everybody, they saw me as an artist, like that was the only kind of skill that I seemed to have, and any way that I could communicate with people was like through the art. Like they would take me seriously when they saw my paintings. They would ignore me easily, but then as soon as they saw me I could draw, they were like, oh wow, you can do this. So that was obviously the only way I could introduce myself to my surrounding. So it was only during like when I was a teenager, there was a little bit of like confusion for me to think, oh, maybe I should thinking, okay, if I'm going to study something, maybe it has to be something else, because there was this, obviously, everybody presumed that, you know, art is not really a good career path. You have to go and do anything else, become an engineer, doctor, or anything, lawyer. The artist's not really, it's not worth the studying, really. It's a waste of time. But at that year that I was about to enter university, there was a big wave of interest in graphic design. So that's why I went to graphic design, because even from although my family were really good in encouraging me in doing my art, and I remember my mom, my grandmother, my grandfather, they were a little kind of thinking, oh, maybe my grandfather at some point has said that, oh yes, you're going to be a dentist, and I was like, why a dentist? Like, that's just like the least thing I want to be. Like, why suddenly a dentist? It's like, what? So they had some ideas, or maybe I could be doing other things, but my mom had a word and said, no, obviously this is her skill and this is what she should be doing, you know. No? So they weren't a kind of family to push me towards anything else. But yeah, I was lucky to actually have that support, especially from my mother. To just go after doing supposedly graphic design, because even if you're thinking as a career path, you know, the graphic design was, which I never actually worked as a graphic designer, it didn't work for me, but that helped me to get into the whole art career. Anyway, it wasn't easy, still, but difficult. But
now Maryam's gonna tell us about this amazing picture.
Well, in this one, that's obviously me. I mean, the face doesn't really look like me, but many of these I wasn't too worried about my face. I just gave the hair, and I felt like everybody will know it's me. I know it's me. So I wasn't so obsessed with making the face look like me. That never mattered. So in here, this is the boat that I was learning to steer with. So I was volunteering with this boat. It's called Tarpally, and which is an old boat on the canal, on Regent's Canal. It was run by volunteers, so it's a kind of scene of that. I got my coffee or tea or whatever, and and I have these the Muslim ladies that keep appearing. They appeared here on my head, having a sunbed.
Let's have a look at them.
You know, lying on my head, and they got their sunglasses on and they're sunbathing. Very relaxed.
So did they appear by themselves?
Yes, they did. I mean, it's funny when I say appear, I mean I suddenly choose to have them, but because it's so sudden, and it usually is very mad, like this one. This one is like, if I was going to imagine them on my head, I wouldn't imagine them having doing some sunbathing on sun lounges, you know, like this sort of. It makes me laugh. That's why I say they appear, because it's just surprising for me to draw that. So it seems that I don't have much control over that. Maybe because it makes me laugh or makes me wonder.
I can see there is a show going on there.
There is a show. There is a grey moving show going on, and this is a grey alien. Seems quite sad. I think it's some kind of a mime thing going on there. And there is one single fish. But this is also very symbolic, the fish bowl, because it's very Iranian. For New Year, you would have fishes, like goldfish, in a fish bowl on display, as part of the other things. But definitely, fish is very connected to that kind of Iranian New Year thing. But this is quite sad. It's quite sad. I don't know what's going on. Nobody's probably because nobody's watching the show. Because it's placed between. It's a very awkward place to have the show, I think. So a bit of it is on the land, and the pillars, there's two more in the water. So I don't know nobody can really watch that. You got to be in between to see it.
Between the worlds.
So I think this is what it is. It's like a gateway for me. I think this is how I see it now. I mean, not that when I did that. When I did that, I didn't really think about why this is like that. But I see it now as like a gateway between dimensions, like the interdimensional show, access point. And this one, I don't know why this lady's doing that. It's still don't know why she's knitting like that.
Ah, she's knitting.
Yes, she's
Okay.
knitting. She's bending down over the bridge, bending over the bridge and knitting. I don't know why.
Lots of things going on.
I know there's a lot going on, and this one is more peaceful. This side, you know, it seems like there is a stream, there's green, and you got wildlife. You know, you have a bit of geese. And
What is the name of the picture?
I'm not sure. I kept changing the name. I've called it Cruising Away, Road to Nowhere Road, even I called it once. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it's called now. The last one, I think, the last name he had was Cruising Away. But it seems like I'm cruising away from this madness. Like, you know, this is like the city. It's all the thing that I find intense about the urban life at that point. So I have the pollution, I have the advertising, I have the consumerist kind of culture, I have the fast food, we have, you know, the clutter, the city clutter, and I'm running away from it. So that I'm almost out of the picture. I'm almost out of this world. You know, I'm just moving away. So I think it's quite an interesting work. It's quite an unusual one.
Do you believe we lived before?
Yeah. Yeah, I always liked the idea, and I believe we definitely did live many times. And I'm very happy that I had two of them, you know, revealed to me through yourself. So yeah, definitely. And I feel sometimes I'm as if I'm kind of regressing myself. You know, kind of. But it's most. But I can't differentiate between my imagination and the actual, you know, truth that is being revealed. So it's a quite a blurry line between the things I create and the things that is actually being revealed. But yes, I think I feel I'm connecting to a lot of my past lives, from different ways as well.
Do you feel there are certain aspects of yourself which didn't come from this life?
Yes. No, I feel like I'm kind of accessing different aspects of myself as well, as if I'm pulling them from different dimensions and just adding them to myself. I feel as if somehow I know certain things and I don't remember how I know them. But it's a very vague knowledge. It's not fully clear. It's just it's more of a feeling over knowledge of knowing, like, I should know this, you know, but it's not a sort of knowledge that I could fully access, but I have a feeling that I can figure out how to do it, or I know it, that it's something that I must have done before. It's just more of a feeling. I don't know.
Okay.
Still exploring.
What is your main drive in life?
It's just life. Just being here. Experiencing. It's just nice to be. And of course, I want to conquer the world and everything.
If you were to connect to your heart right now and feel your heart, and if you were to imagine that you can give a message to the whole world from your heart,
don't be scared! It's all gonna be fine. That's what my heart says.